Hello, boys and girls, and welcome to Writing Prompts with Miss Ellingson. When you are asked to write a persuasive or an argumentative essay, you should use a tree map to plan. Take a moment to read these examples of persuasive and argumentative prompts. If you've only been given a short amount of space to do your writing, use the rule of 3. That would basically be a paragraph in which you make sure that you have a topic sentence, 3 reasons, and for each reason that you give a detail and a conclusion. However, if they give you a persuasive or an argumentative prompt and they give you several pages, you know that you're expected to write a multi-paragraph essay. I always suggest that you use a 5-paragraph essay plan. Your first paragraph, as you know, should have a hook to capture the reader's attention, background information on the prompt, and a sentence in which you state your argument, your point, what you're trying to persuade the reader of, and 3 reasons that you're going to use. Your second, third, and fourth body paragraphs should include one of those claims that you stated in your introduction, and always Ice Ice Baby. You know that Ice Ice Baby stands for introduce the citation, cite, and then explain the citation. And of course, your last paragraph is a brief conclusion in which you restate your topic sentence or your argument. Be sure to always use transitions in your writing. Here are some common and powerful transitions you can use when you're writing a persuasive or argument paper. Sometimes you're asked to write a narrative. A narrative prompt will ask you to tell a story or describe an event in a specific order. It's best to use a flow map when you plan to write a narrative, because a flow map helps you to make sure that your writing is in order, that it's sequential, and that it makes sense. Take a moment to read some of these common narrative prompts. When you're writing a narrative, you don't have to use the rule of 3 or any Ice Ice Baby, but you do need to make sure that you have a well-developed setting so that the reader feels like they're in your story. You need to make sure that you have a plot, a sequence of events. You need to especially make sure that you have dialogue and indent each time you introduce a new character or a new scene or each time someone new is talking. Here's an example of a narrative. Notice where the writer has indented. I'll read it to you since it's probably kind of hard to see. One fine winter's day, when Piglet was brushing away the snow in front of his house, he happened to look up, and there was Winnie the Pooh. Pooh was walking round and round in a circle, thinking of something else, and when Piglet called to him, he just went on walking. "Hello," said Piglet. "What are you doing?" "Hunting," said Pooh. "Hunting what?" "Tracking something," said Winnie the Pooh, very mysteriously. "Tracking what?" said Piglet, coming closer. "That's just what I ask myself. I ask myself what? What do you think you'll answer?" "I shall have to wait until I catch up with it," said Winnie the Pooh. "Now look here." He pointed to the ground in front of him. "What do you see there?" "Tracks," said Piglet. "Paw marks." He gave a squeak of excitement. "Oh, Pooh, do you think it's a woozy?" "It may be," said Pooh. "Sometimes it is, and sometimes it isn't. You never can tell with paw marks." So do you notice how the first paragraph is indented? And each time the dialogue switches from Piglet to Pooh, the writer jumps down a line. That lets us know that a different person is speaking each time. Here are some common transitions to use in narrative writing. These are sequential The final type of writing that you might be asked to do is expository or descriptive writing. Expository has the word expose in it. It just means that they want you to make something clear through your writing. Descriptive has the word describe in it. They obviously want you to describe something. It is best to use a tree map when you plan. Here are some examples of expository or descriptive prompts. Take a moment to read them to yourself. I forgot to tell you, there's one more type of writing, the compare and contrast prompt. A compare and contrast prompt will ask you to compare, which means to tell how something is the same, or contrast, to tell how something is different, or both. It is best to use a Venn diagram or a compare-contrast double bubble map when you're asked to compare and or contrast. Here are a few examples of some comparing and contrasting writing prompts. Take a moment to read them to yourself. The first one should look very familiar to you, as we just did this a few weeks ago. You can write a compare and contrast essay in different ways. If the space that they've given you to write is very small, you can write one paragraph. You can write 4 paragraphs if the prompt asks you to compare and contrast. Finally, you can use the rule of 3 and write a 5-paragraph essay if the prompt asks you to compare or contrast and you've been given lots of writing space. And here are some transitions to use when you're comparing and contrasting. At the end of this PowerPoint, we're going to play a game where I hold up some prompts and you tell me what the writing type is. Thank you.